Joining us now is a man who's a two-time Super Bowl champion. Just one-time winner of the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award. What a fucking loser. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Law. How are you, man?
Yeah, I'm good. I did win the Community Service Award once. I did a lot of good stuff off the field there, guys.
Yeah, you're a hero. I mean, you didn't win it twice. You only won it once. You could have won back-to-back, but you didn't. You must let off a little bit. But everything you did in the communities you played for and other communities is honorable. I want to let you know, as somebody that watched on from outside, you're a cool dude. I want to let you know. Now, let's talk about your forehead right there. Win bet. Congratulations. I saw it.
I'm covering my forehead. I reached for a hat. I swear, this is the classic. Like, hey, I just picked the T-shirt on top of the, in the top of the drawer. It really is win bet, dude. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to just plug my employer here, but it's a nice hat. You know, when somebody sends you a free hat and it actually fits, you got to wear it.
Well, they're your employer. They're also paying you to wear it. But the free hat is also. I'm down with the free hat as well. And hey, listen, I don't know who I'm trying to kid either. FanDuel is sitting right over my shoulder every single day.
So, yeah, they are.
Yeah, they're not my employer. But let's talk about it. So you're full time with WinBet. Is that how that whole thing worked out? What they pick up, the green light pod and everything else? You're going to be creating stuff all season for them?
Yeah. So basically, the nice thing is I signed with Blue Wire.
What's that?
And those guys, shout out to them.
What's that?
Basically, they house a lot of podcasts and essentially it's a platform. So
got it.
Nice thing is I can kind of be myself, kind of keep doing the show how we want to do it. You know how important autonomy is and how important, creative control is. And they're like, we believe in you. We're going to give you the reins, and then WinBet's running their stuff through them. And so do a lot of gambling stuff through WinBet, and WinBet's like new and exciting. So good chance to do what I love, which is piss money away betting on football games.
Hey, listen, with your big brain, you're going to win money on football.
I don't know about that.
No, listen, you know what it's going to be, though, Chris? And this happened with me after I retired. I have a lot of Italian friends, always have, and they've been degenerates with shady bookies for a long, long time. I literally stayed out of it because I didn't want to be the Pete Rose, right? We were kind of told there's literally posters everywhere, like, hey, don't fucking be Pete Rose. Like, don't do it. You know what I mean? And now, listen, I think Pete Rose maybe is in a comeback trail and everything like that. He was supposed to come on the show last week. He canceled 20 minutes beforehand, but Pete Rose,
that sounds about it. Let me back up for a second here. That sounds like something maybe Pete Rose would do. No offense to Pete Rose.
No, bingo. It was almost better than him coming on the show. It was like, Pete Rose pulled a Pete Rose, but like that was forced on a lot of us, and I assume through you as well, especially with your dad's legacy. And then as soon as I retired, I started dabbling in it, and I was like starting to get confident, comfortable. I started making some real money in football gambling. I'm like, how you doing? Keep it moving. FanDuel starts happening. We go, it's when you start betting on shit you don't know, and that. Hey, Chris, that's going to happen. Listen, you're going to get into basketball. You're going to be like, I fucking feel it. I know this is going to, and that's where it's going to go.
I think I have the opposite problem. Stuff I know, I fuck up royally. So, like, we think we know football really well, right? So you got to bet the entire board. Like, I'm the worst. I got like 5 teasers out there. I have like 5 parlays, and then the 3 bets I win are just negated by all that bullshit I do on the side. But I do it for the thrill. I don't like. I have enough money. Like you have enough money.
You'll learn,
thrill.
Chris. You'll learn. You will.
I know a lot of old guys who never did.
No, but you're smarter than those guys. Listen, and the Italians have even caught on to it. So even if the biggest degenerates can do it, now unless you just want to give money back, which I don't think you want to do, you'll learn like, okay, I'm not going to pull the trigger on every single game because there is a lot of good-looking lines out there.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
too many.
Tonight, hey. Steelers.
Oh yeah, we bet in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I'm betting you over. I'm betting you over tonight, 32.5 points. I just think there's going to be some freak touchdowns. Have you played in the Hall of Fame game? And what are your thoughts on preseason football as a whole, Chris?
Okay, first, who's playing tonight so I can bet the game?
Steelers.
I totally check out on this shit.
Yeah, us too. Steelers, Cowboys. No Dak, no Ben. Mason Rudolph starting for the Steelers.
Ooh, it's going to be chaos out there. I'd love to bet this game. Okay. One time I had to play in the Hall of Fame game. It was we were going to play, I think, the Browns, and when I saw it on our schedule the spring before, I just about cried.
Yeah.
Like just think about having to do a 5th preseason game, like 6 days before you report, or after you report. Like, that's like just jumping off a 3rd-story balcony. Like, you just hit the ground, dude. It's just, like, there's no time to get ready for that. So I think, it's a really awesome thing that they bring all the Hall of Famers back. My pops gets to go. He just got on a plane today to go back, and he loves that. He sees all those guys that he respected as a kid. Like his heroes are wearing the same jacket he is, and they all hang out and they really respect the event. And then to see him on the field is really cool. But the active football part of it is tough.
Terrible.
You know what I mean?
It is terrible.
And
Chris.
I got lucky. We had a lockout. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
The lockout year?
Oh, yeah.
So that was the year we were supposed to do the Hall of Fame game. And I was like, if this lockout could just end, but right after the Hall of Fame game, that would be great. And that's exactly what happened.
Chris, you and I both, I think, we didn't have to play in a Hall of Fame game that year. We played in it the year the field wasn't good enough for us to play on. You remember that?
Ooh.
So we were both scheduled to play in a Hall of Fame game. Guess what? Neither of us did. Look at us.
Hey, Paul Rudd.gif.
Hey, yeah. Look at us. Who would have thought? Huh? Who would have thought?
I mean, come on, man. That's some good fortune right there. So, listen, preseason as a whole, I do think there's value in shortening it. I can remember when, something like OCU Minora tears his ACL in preseason. It's just such a waste of certain dudes to go out there and get hurt. And also, it's really hard to get in a rhythm. You know how, like, first game you don't play a lot if you're a starter. Second game you play a little bit more. Third game you play a lot. And then the fourth game, you coast. I'd rather just do 2 games, get it over with, play me 30 snaps, and let's just rip the Band-Aid off. If we just did 2 and we moved on, the thing that really wears on you is the practice as much as anything. So if you're doing another week of practice, preparing for that game, it can really wear you down. And I think it's really hard. You don't glean a lot from preseason. Every year there's a guy who has 5 sacks in preseason, and everybody's like, oh, he's going to be an all-pro. I had 1 sack in preseason. I had 70 in my career. So it really just doesn't matter. I mean, I hate to say that. It matters for the guys fighting for a roster.
Hold on. So this is what I'm going to get into, Chris, because the Lions, I think they were undefeated in the preseason the year they went 0-16 or whatever. Right? And the Colts here have always had bad preseasons because the team wasn't very deep, but the starters were incredible and they didn't want to risk anything like that. You were going to say the roster spot. I think there should be maybe a game or 2 games. You play in a position that would have to get into rhythm a little bit more. You said 2 games would be good. And then there should just be an advertised bubble game. Like, hey, this is a bubble game. We have no idea if these guys are going to be on our team or one of the other 31 teams, or maybe selling insurance. Like, hey, we have no idea what's going to happen, and just kind of note it that way, as opposed to, because remember, they're selling tickets to these things, and season ticket holders have to buy the tickets for the preseason games. And tonight we'll watch. I told the boys, first drive, we'll be excited NFL football is back. And then I don't even know if I'll make it to second quarter before going, oh, this is fucking terrible football. It's not the player's fault. It's 6 days you're in there.
And I try to be, listen, I get it. A lot of my good buddies, and probably yours too, were guys who were scrapping for spots. And I respect that. Shout out to guys like Darren Bates and special teams guys who, came to the league without the same opportunities that high draft picks did. Sorry, let me move this camera. But, it's just for an older guy or for a starter, literally the best part is when you're taken out of the game and you reach down in your sock for that tin of dip or that bag of peanuts, sit on the bench and you hang out the second half and you just watch football. That's my favorite part. So in a sense, I kind of get why y'all like to watch football. It's a lot of fun. It was different. But everything else, you're just nervous you get hurt. One time, after I was coming off an injury, Jeff Fisher had me in there in the 4th quarter of the 3rd game. I was IR the year before, so he was trying to see if I was back. I wasn't. And I made a big play, and I'm getting up, and I'm like, motherfucker, I'm cheering and all this shit. And people are like, man, you were really fired up. And I was like, no, I was cussing out coach. I didn't want to be in that thing. So, that's preseason, man. You just got to put your head down and get through it.
So tonight, actually, my sources are telling me that there's a chance that a certain kicker will not be kicking for a certain team due to a Hall of Fame game injury that had happened to that same team's kicker who was very fucking good just a few years back. Swisham tore his ACL, I think, trying to make a tackle in the ACL.
Sushi, unfortunately.
Swisham tore his ACL in a Hall of Fame game, kicker, trying to make a tackle. He's out. Then they have Scobie in there. He misses every kick for some reason.
Oh, not Scobie.
Yeah, Scobie had a bad game. Scobie had a bad run with the Steelers. Down in Jacksonville, he's great. Oh, you don't like – hey, what you got beef with Scobes?
No, I'm just laughing because, so much about the kicking game, and I'm like, yeah, Scobie, I remember.
Oh, Chris, fuck off. right, listen, go to hell. All right, you just listen off some special teamers, but I have some inside information happening on tonight's game, so the over might be in jeopardy.
It always has been, Pat.
No.
The over might be in jeopardy. I'm not 100%.
I'll fuck around and bet unders. People are always like, life's too short to bet unders. I'm like, this seems perfect. Life seems perfect to bet unders.
Yeah, you seem like a miserable person. I mean, right over here, same.
You said it yourself early in camp, see ball, get ball. Defense has the...
Defense.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I've
We've
watched
got unders betters in there, so that's good.
Yeah, so I've watched, a lot of football, preseason football. I think that is something that a lot of punters, kickers, and snappers, now granted, you have to take advantage of that opportunity, but I've been very lucky to be front row to watch basically every aspect of NFL football. Now, preseason's a nightmare for me, okay? I'm going out there in fourth quarter with 3 McDonald's workers blocking on the right side of the punt team, okay? I mean, it is a little bit nightmare, but early in training camp, and you tell me if I'm accurate in my observation, it's always see ball, get ball. Defense kills early. And unless the offense is a veteran group that's been around for a long time, it feels like defense does run the show early. Is that because the scheme doesn't really matter as much on the defensive side, and you just kind of got to run around and just find the ball and go full speed? It doesn't matter what happens?
Well, I think a lot of times early in camp, something, you alluded to something being more complex, like offensive blocking schemes protections are more complex than, we've got a 9, a 7, a 3, and a shade, or we have 2 9s and we're going, or hey, maybe you've got a blitzer in the B gap and we've been drilling that little thing all day, but on the other side, they're learning 7 iterations of protection. And, there's more throwing and catching the football, handoffs, stuff like that, false starts, the snap count. Early in training camp, I do think that the defense kind of naturally sets the tone. And then when I think you get to that first preseason game, if you ask position players, I feel at least in my experience, that the offense was always good for going on some long ass drive. The beginning because you're so tired.
Oh, yeah.
There's no way to get in football shape unless you play real football. And that's the catch-22 of shortening the preseason is I don't care how long or how tough your camp was. I don't care how many up-downs you're doing, which I'm totally cool with over there in Detroit.
Down-ups, by the way. The media called them down-ups, dude. It was awesome. Look,
they said what?
Down-ups. They called them down-ups.
Oh, down-ups. Yeah. Good. And so the media is definitely qualified to comment on the ability of these coaches without seeing them coach a game. But, I just think you're going to be gassed that first preseason drive. Yeah. Some of the most tired I've ever been has been that drive where – every third down, we're running basic shit because you don't want to show anything, right? So offenses are kind of converting. You're tired. They're not having to run to the football like you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's funny. The first day of camp, I think the defense owns it. The first preseason game, at least I felt like we gave up a lot of big drives in the beginning.
And then also those second, third, fourth quarters, especially in this first game, and for the Steelers-Cowboys, these first 2 games, those are all the young guys, and those guys have no idea. They're dead tired, too. They're doing 60, 70 plays, some guys. On the defensive side, they're playing a lot.
And special teams.
And they're supposed to block, for me, by the way, and they've never
done that
in their entire lives, and they have no idea. It's a lot easier to block a punt, by the way, than to block for a punt. For me, preseason, preseason was get me the fuck out of here. I hope to survive, but
I don't know. I want to say this though, Pat. I was pretty. I didn't fear a lot of stuff on the field. You can't to play. But if I had to block a punt, I'd be kind of fucking afraid of your foot, dude.
Thank you. That means a lot. There's a guy named Brahman who – Brahman? Brahman.
Brian Bremen?
Yeah.
Oh, Brian Bremen's an absolute psycho.
Hey, is his head not this large, dude?
The guy is a legend. If you could hear his Super Bowl speech – before we went out to play the Patriots, I don't remember much about what he said, but it was definitely we were playing Call of Duty, not not going to play a football game. But he's just insane, bro. He was a special teams demon, bro.
He was a terrorist for the brand. Okay, that's what he was. He was the first ever terrorist for the brand. He He's this big white dude. His head is massive. He's his long hair. He's got a 40-pack, I think, and
he's built like it's like an upside down A down to the waist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's a cool thing. I'm built like a rectangle. As hard as I work, as much as I cut weight.
Yeah,
he's just built like an upside down A. He looks like he stepped off of a motorcycle, and he just runs out on the field like.
And blocks punts.
Decapitates people.
Yeah, and blocks punts. He had a string there, I think, of like 2 to 3 straight years where he either got a deflection, tried to break my leg, or blocked a punt. All in Houston. It was like before the game, too. I think we were cut. Yeah, here's him breaking my fucking leg. By the way, no penalty was called here. You see, I do end up kicking that thing like 33 yards, I think. My leg wraps around his leg, though. Oh. But he was so nice that he actually conformed around my knee that he actually was like a little brace for me.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
Yeah, it was nice of him.
Yeah, it was very nice of him to do that. He did say immediately upon us both being on the ground that it did hurt and asked me if I was okay. And then I said, yeah, fuck. And then I look at the ref and there's no flag. I'm like, are we kidding right now? Are we even kidding right now? But that's
I mean, guys that look like they're in biker gangs can have compassion too. I
mean, he was the man. Hey, he was the man. I wish I could have heard that speech. I mean,
well, it's out there. I think it's out there on like YouTube.com and stuff. So,
all right, I'll check it out. YouTube.com. Yeah. Can we talk about the state of the NFL media? Can we do that? You just.
Yeah, sure we can. Yeah.
All right, good.
Are we a part of that? Am I a part of that?
Yeah. See, that's kind of a battle that I'm having right now because I remember hearing media people say, the media is doing blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, you're in the media. And I guess you and I are pretty large parts of the media now, on the internet at least, and it's very lucky to do so. So whenever we point fingers at other members of the media, I think we kind of sound like, non-self-aware douches. But I would like to say that I think the media covering things, there's a lot of people forgetting about what football is like, and I think they're trying to paint like a fairy tale world of what football is. And people who have been in football are like, should be able to say, like, no, that's not what it's like at all. For instance, Motor City Dan Campbell up there, him saying that he loved seeing his 2 young guys get after it, and everybody's like, this guy is a maniac. And now that comes after the knee biting and everything like that is been Dan Campbell and being his own self. But like fights happen. Football is a physical sport. It's a violent sport. 100 degrees, people running, that's going to happen. The people in the Giants now, push-ups I would never do in a million years, but the fans are like, Joe Judge has lost a team because there was a fight and Danny Dimes shouldn't be in there. It's like, no, this is what happens. Like, hey, this is what happens in football. I feel like a lot of people have forgot that, though, whenever they get on a microphone. What's that all about, Chris?
Well, listen, and I know you're not doing it either. We're not painting with a broad brush or anything. I mean, like, I don't think it's just there's a general, when it comes to things like that, everybody likes to sound smart and say, like, we're above that. We don't fight anymore. This is Neanderthal football. This coach is a Neanderthal. This is archaic. The problem is I think a lot of that commentary goes on Twitter where like 95% of people didn't play. And that's no offense. Like, I think media members can do a great job without having played.
Agreed. This is broad brush stuff. This is broad. We're not painting with a broad brush.
Some of our best media members who are the most insightful didn't play. Like Bill Barnwell, my dog, shout him out. Like, guys like that. Bill didn't play. He knows like so much about the game. It's just there's guys and girls who look at things and they're like, I'm afraid to not overreact to this soundbite from Dan Campbell because Florio, who I like, misquotes him or, somebody takes a quote out of context or we all agree that this guy was a terrible hire because he does stink like a terrible hire. It's Detroit. The guy came out of nowhere. So a lot of people are thinking like, what are they doing? But like, for instance, Dan Campbell, there's been this narrative that he's going to fail because he's a hardo. And I don't even think people know what a hardo is in the NFL. Hardos don't smile. Hardos don't talk to the media. Hardos don't joke with their players. Hardos don't share. You know what I mean? Dan has done all those things. And I think, like, if you want to know if players are going to like a coach or not, ask a fucking player. How about that? And players that I've talked to really like the guy. I'm not saying he's going to be a great coach. I have no idea. But he would be a perfect example of the way we've kind of stigmatized this football guy thing to the point that, like, if we even sniff it, automatically the guy's going to suck. If he wins games, people are going to be obsessed with his shtick or whatever it is.
Oh, yeah.
And I buy his shtick because I think he's authentic. Now, can he coach? We'll see. I don't know. But he's a perfect example of everybody kind of piling on. And I know people didn't like the hire. And listen, the Rooney Rule thing, it's been really rough, for black coaches watching. And this guy and many other guys seem like we're coming out of nowhere, like out of the woodwork. Where'd they find this guy? But he's coached under Sean Payton. He's got experience. He's dealt with both sides of the locker room, and guys love him. And you know what? If Detroit wants to make that call, maybe they're going to be hitting the reset button in a year or two. But it's not like the last 15 coaches have worked out very well for them outside Jim Caldwell.
Well, I agree, and they ran him out of town because he wasn't good enough. I mean, we're good now, but you're not good enough. Get him the fuck out. He doesn't smile either, the guy. I love Jim Caldwell, but
he's awesome.
I don't know how many coaches wanted the Detroit job. Like, I know, I assume the common thought is everybody who's coaching wants to be a head coach in the NFL. I agree. But I think now at this point we're seeing a lot of players take a little bit less money to stay in good positions. I think you're seeing a lot of good coaches potentially change their strategy on where they want to go, how they want to go, because of what Chris just said, how in 1 year they might be firing you, your whole family, and moving everything like that. So I'm not saying that there wasn't other coaches that were maybe more qualified to get the Lions job. I assume that there definitely was. But I think Dan Campbell is like the perfect person for the Lions job. I'm not sure that was a very desirable position for anybody. He's bought in completely. And I found that very deep of you saying, like, people don't even know hardos in the football world, because I think immediately when I look at Dan Campbell, I'm like, okay, this is a meathead. But then whenever you listen to him speak, it's like, oh, it's a deep thinking meathead.
He's a compassionate meatball.
Yeah,
and like
deep
I'm
thinker.
A compassionate meatball. So
Me
I'm not
too, I
throwing
think.
shade. Listen, the guy gets people. Now, I don't know if he's going to get building an offense around Jared Goff. I don't know if he's going to put his coaches in the right position. I'll tell you what he has done. That staff that they kind of put together is like the coolest staff in the history of football. Like, these dudes are all ballers and they're all cool. My man Deuce is up there from Philly. Brad's up there, GM
Antoine Randall
in LA, and they're just cool. And he did a great job of assembling a staff. Now it's going to be his job to manage the situation. And if he can't, he won't be there long. But give the guy a chance. Maybe he's not the asshole that you think he is because you're afraid to retweet something that you think is a little cavemanish. Like, that's his style.
Hey, listen, Caveman has won a lot of football games.
I mean, Caveman has won a lot of football games.
A lot of it. Go ahead.
And what? Here's the other thing. A lot of people don't even like the hardo thing. Like, some of the media's favorite people are hardos, and they don't even know it. Like, that's the thing. Like, the media doesn't, and I'm including myself in this. If I was looking at the NBA or something and I didn't play, and I was like, well, I think this guy looks like kind of a dick, or this guy looks like he's cool, or this guy's humble. Like, we don't really know. We weren't around these guys. We weren't in locker rooms. And you can know a lot about the game of football without having that kind of sixth sense about people and teammates and what players are into or not into. I think a lot of times there's a disconnect between the media at large and what players think.
I would say, I think that is a very, very true statement. And if he has success, you know what every other owner is going to be looking for as soon as he has success. Hey, we need a big, deep thinking meathead. I need two black eyes, man. And what do you say? I need two black eyes.
Pike, black, two shots in each. Black eyes.
Oh, dude, listen. The only thing I don't like about Dan Campbell in the entire world, and by the way, there's no Dan Campbell trend because God only made one Dan Campbell. You can't go after he succeeds. If he does, you can't be like, where are the other Dan Campbell's? There's just one. But it's unfortunate that he's an addict, because I found that out. He's a caffeine addict, that illicit drug that you're all hooked on. He's drinking 100 ounces a day.
That's in the morning. That's in the morning, I think. We're talking about the level of addiction that you are referring to is alarming. But hey, by the way, a lot of caffeine addicts have won a lot of games.
No doubt. I used to be one. I have to comment because life is better without it.
Well, it depends on if they win or lose. I'll tell you what, that's the only thing that's going to depend upon whether or not life is good over there. We're talking to Chris Long, two-time Super Bowl champion, only one time Walter Payton manager.
Yikes.
That's a shame. That's a real shame. Go ahead, Connor.
Yeah, Chris, Pat alluded to the push-ups Joe Judge was making players do, and Joe Looney actually retired the second that he heard that he had to do it. When you were in New England, you were already an established vet in the league. Was there ever a time where he kind of made players do laps or, do push-ups, and everyone was like, hey, Bill, come on, man?
No, I think honestly, I didn't think New England's camp was that crazy, that hard. I think every organization runs camp differently, every coach, and Lord knows I had 7 coaches in St. Louis alone. So, I mean, it ran the gambit. My toughest camp was like pre-CBA, 2-a-days with Steve Spagnuolo. So, like, after that, it was like, after the CBA that we were talking about earlier, like, it was all downhill. So even when I got to New England, I was just like, man, I wish y'all had more windows in the facility. That was my biggest complaint. It's like a compound. But, you know, some of my favorite coaches made me do up downs. Greg Williams is one of my favorite coaches. I know, again, the media doesn't like Greg Williams. Some players might not like him. Some players will walk through hell for him. So
you're one of those guys.
He used to make us do 40 up downs. So you'd practice the whole summer for having to do 40 up downs before team periods. And then when we get to camp, we'd get to 25 and he'd blow the whistle. You know, it was like a big joke. Like, so it was basically you practice it all summer and then you didn't even have to pass it if it looked like you were in shape.
The take the head off, the rest of the snake will die guy was making you guys do 40 up downs before team periods. Are you serious?
Listen, we had a group that we were hell on wheels, so we didn't mind doing it. But also, like I said, like it was like, hey, do 25, I'm gonna blow the whistle. I will say this with the Joe Judge thing, I don't mind push-ups, and I love that Looney retired. Because I think that's great. Whenever anybody has the balls to walk out of a facility, I think you're a legend. like Vontae Davis,
the best.
like all-time legend for just because you know how coaches always say if you don't want to be here, leave. I love the guy that's like, okay.
Hey, you said it. You said it, man. Because that is like the classic quote.
Go ahead, Pat. Sorry.
No, I was going to say that's a classic quote. And there's always the people that the new coaches started saying, hey, if you're falling asleep in a meeting, just stand up. It won't be a problem. And then somebody stands up and like, sit the fuck down. What the fuck is your problem? Leave.
If you don't want to be here, leave. And then you're like, you go from standing to leaving. But I look at it like I'm fine with doing that to the players, but I don't get the making the coaches jog thing. And I know like players don't often advocate for coaches, but they do work really hard. And if I was an assistant coach and my coach made me run, I would probably not be an assistant coach for long.
I think that it might have happened last year with the Italian offensive line coach. And by the way, the players...
Scar?
No. Colombo and Joe Judge allegedly got into a fist fight. Allegedly last year.
I wonder how that went. I mean, Joe's a big guy. Joe could probably hold his own. But Colombo was not only big, but he's in a metal band.
Jeez. So I didn't know that. That does change the odds mightily more into his favor because I think he's also 6 foot 10 or something like that. I mean, metal
I'd rather
band?
fight a 6'10" guy than like a 6'1" guy.
I'm 6'1". What you would? Okay, so you'd rather fight Colombo than me? Is that?
Yeah, it was a compliment somehow.
Hell yeah.
Hey, I've been in the Oculus, Chris. I've been in the Oculus. I've been doing. I go ahead, Dick.
Chris, can I ask
I thought you
you?
were going to say octagon. You said Oculus.
Yeah. Fake, not real. Yeah. Go ahead.
Chris, I wanted to ask you about kind of your position. So T.J. Watt, Bud Dupree played together forever. They were a great complement to each other. What happens when one of those guys, they leave and now you don't have the guy on the other side? Like, how do you guys deal with that?
It's funny, yeah, it's true. I mean, like, me and Robert Quinn got to rush together, you know, years where he was doing 19 on, like, a bad team. Like, guy's a mutant. But, I mean, that was great. But the guy that really makes a difference, I think both those guys will be fine. I do think Bud's a really great all-around player. I hope that Tennessee does enough to accentuate all the good things he does. And I hope they don't just say, like, we're just going to evaluate you on if you get 10 sacks. Because that's not exactly always who he is. I do think an inside rusher helps more than, you know, an end on the other side. I think so because, and one thing is when you have 2 different rushers, it's really nice to have 2 rushers that have different styles. You know, there's a few examples of that around the league, but because then you can run high-low. You know, one guy can go speed, one guy can go power. You don't want to both be going speed at 9 yards and run into each other. It looks like a shitty car crash.
Yeah.
So it's good to have varying styles, but more than anything, I think it's the inside guys because they make the tackle kind of peer down at them. They make the tackle tighten and leave a hand in there. If you're playing next to Fletcher Cox, you know, that's going to change things. If you're playing next to Aaron Donald, which one of my biggest regrets is I got hurt when he got drafted. You know, like you can run naturals off those guys. Like, so if Fletcher Cox gets off the ball, which he always does, if he beats your old ass off the ball, then you just go around him. If he goes to power, And this is why it's nice to have an experienced rusher next to a guy inside. Like, everything's an option. And if you're looking inside, your periphery sees that massive dude in the B gap raising hell, and you can kind of adjust off that person. And also you can work a lot with that person pre-snap, but a lot of his natural stuff. So I think the inside guy makes more of a difference than the guy on the other side of you.
Steelers need to bring back Casey Hampton if they want TJ Watt to really do some damage.
Dude, the guys they got in there, man.
Cam Hayward's there. I completely forgot. He picked up an offensive lineman who is very good, going to be in the Hall of Fame. Okay, that offensive lineman is going to be in the Hall of Fame, only going into like his third year at this point, fourth year at this point.
Who was it?
Quentin Nelson. I mean, there was.
Oh, you're talking about Quentin Nelson. Yeah, I mean, shoe in for the Hall of Fame.
Shoe in for the Hall of Fame. Maybe greatest guard of all time when it's all said and done. There's obviously
maybe, I don't know. Yeah, there might be a little indie thing going on here, but I do think he's the real deal. I remember when he pulled in Philly the first time I ever played the Colts with him on, and a lot of times on those counter plays, I just set my feet and kind of like just shoulder a guy who's pulling. I took 5 hop steps and I was on the hash. I was like, what the fuck is this guy? His head the size of Steve Hutchinson's. There's only one guy with a head the size of Steve Hutchinson's I've ever played. Other than Steve Hutchinson, it was Quentin Nelson.
Hey, he's going to get broken off here as he deserves. But what Cam was able to do to him just on one particular play, it affected our season forever.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. And like, Cam and Tuitt. I mean, Tuitt's been a guy who's been massively underrated, and they do a lot of different stuff there. So it's like, they can be multiple. Those guys can move around. They can play different roles. I think TJ is going to be fine. I think Bud's going to be fine as long as Tennessee uses him correctly.
All right, Ty's got this last question. We can't thank you enough for your time here, Chris. You're the man. What do you got today? What, you got a guitar? You got an unplugged situation going?
Yeah, I don't play a guitar, but I'm not trying to be a douche, but it's signed by Chris Stapleton, so
that's the guy that did that Justin Timberlake
Tennessee
performance.
Come on, man. Hey, y'all need to get some Steel Drivers going on here. You know Steel Drivers?
Absolutely.
Steel Drivers, that's Chris Stapleton's old bluegrass band. Everybody that's listening, go bless yourself.
Hey, shout out Chris Stapleton and the bluegrass band that he's got. What he do? He wrote a bunch of songs for people for a long time. What they say, you're not attractive enough to be the country musician, so he had to write songs for everybody. And then he came out and he was better than fucking everybody.
I guess country music executives don't like printing fucking money because this guy is like one of the greatest voices of like the modern era, and he can play 5 different kinds of music.
Yeah, he's awesome. Go ahead, Ty.
Chris, were you as surprised as a lot of the media and some former players that Aaron Rodgers' teammates didn't bar him from returning to the Packers locker room? Like, did that ever happen in one of your off seasons where like a guy maybe had like a messy contract situation and you basically told him like, hey, fuck it, we don't want you back here. You're not coming in the locker room.
I was shocked that they didn't bar the door. I mean, nothing says I want to win a Super Bowl more than like locking Aaron Rodgers out of the building. So like,
get out.
I just it's funny, like, and you know this, Pat, but you've sat around locker rooms when dudes are like sitting out. Like the third corner will be like, dude, I'm trying to get my money. And dudes will be like, get your money, dude.
Hey, get it.
Like the third corner. Okay. So, and usually the third corner thinks he's worth more than he is. No offense to nickels. I think nickels are actually more realistic than just a corner.
They're going to get mad that you lump them in with corners, though, because now nickel's its own position. I mean, you're going to piss people off no matter what you just said right there. So
yeah, no, I'm sorry. I respect the fuck out of the position. It's just corners have to be confident, is all I'm saying. So a lot of times they're going to be like, I'm worth $10 million, and dudes are like, go get your money. Like I say that to say, when Aaron Rodgers, quite possibly, if we have the GOAT and best ever conversation, I like the way some people have framed that with Brady's the GOAT, Rodgers might be the best ever. Like the guy that just makes you go, wow. I think when you have a guy like that on your team, don't you want to win a Super Bowl? Don't you want him back in the building? I mean, Bakhtiari bought him a golf cart. Like, how's that seem to be going? Like, seems like everybody's pretty happy to have him back. And, I think the guy who's really on the hot seat in Green Bay, you kind of want to be Randall Cobb, but you kind of don't want to be Randall Cobb.
This is tough.
If you don't play well this year, they're going to be like, we fought the Trojan War over Randall Cobb. They fought a fucking war over Randall Cobb. You know how cool and terrifying it is to be Randall Cobb?
All right, now listen. I don't think that is the exact way to describe the situation, but Randall Cobb is the picture of like Aaron being like, yeah, this is the first of many. And if I think Randall's going to play well, but you're 100%. I think our first thoughts were like, all right, Randall got a ball out. Hey, this is going to have to be the thing.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
And you know, like you and I were talking offline, Pat, but like you talk about, this isn't some people have said it's not a championship locker room or something, or
yes,
you know, that it's maybe it's not like maybe the chemistry's messed up. No, I think the chemistry in the locker room's fine. I think the chemistry between upstairs and the locker room ain't great there. And I think that what Aaron did, and this was really good of him, as he was laying out the situations, he went to bat for players in the past. I mean, that's the kind of guy he is, where he thinks about his teammates. And, you know, you could see that most of the grumblings in the offseason were like dissatisfaction with upstairs, whether it was, you know, Zadarius Smith, who's an absolute dog, and you should never let him leave the building. You know, I mean, golly, it's like pass rush porn. It's awesome. But like Zadarius Smith, those guys that were kind of bitching, they weren't bitching about Aaron Rodgers. Like, guys can play for the name on the back of the jersey. And by that, I mean, like, all your teammates' names. I don't mean, like, everybody makes it an A or B thing. Either you play for the name on the back of your jersey or you play for the name on the front of it. No, you can play for your teammates, too. And I think what you're going to have there, even if they're pissed at, you know, I still am afraid to say his name, Gutekunst. You know, even if you're pissed at Brian G., you know, like,
we don't say that word.
Playing for Aaron Rodgers and Zadarius Smith and all those guys. I mean, you're playing for each other. So I think that team's going to be close.
Trent Dilfer described it as a bunker mentality. And I think that is such a great way to describe that. And I think the locker room, by the way, after watching what Aaron's doing, for different reasons, like for me, and for you, I think you're a guy that you love that just walks out of the building. Somebody that is looking right at their boss who's fucking up and saying, fuck you. Like, I have a lot of respect for that. Like, that is something that I love. And guys are going to have respect for what he's saying for former players. Guys are going to have a lot of respect for maybe their futures. Like, Jordan Love is watching this potentially going like, hey, thank you. So, like, if I end up being the player that I was traded up in the first round to be, maybe my life will be different here as well. I think the team will love it even more. I'm happy you do. We have to get you out of here. I can't thank you enough, man. You're the best.
Of course, man. Sorry about the billboards.
No, you get your money, dude. Hey, get your money, dude.
Oh, yeah. Money.
Get your money.
Yeah, get your money.
Yeah, get your money, dude. Do what you got to do, ladies and gentlemen. Only one time.
Come on.
Only one time. How many years were you in the league?
11.
10 times he did not win.
Yikes.
Brutal.
Only once.
Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad.
Only once was he the Walter Payton Man of the Year. But hey, great host of the Green Light Pod, 2-time Super Bowl champion, very deep thinker, well-spoken. Only won Walter Payton Man of the Year one time. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Long. Hey.
All right, y'all.
Hey, see you, Chris. Thank you, man. He was out. He does have something to do. We overstayed. We did the whole thing.
Yeah. He's a very busy guy.
Very. I mean, is he not insanely busy out there? What just happened? We just have a full glitch right there?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
what just happened?
Cyber attack.
Is everything all right? Are we getting attacked?